Thank you.
You're on the
You like being a Regents, so.
smart side of the coin.
Good morning. Good morning to one and all. I call to order this meeting of the University of Minnesota Board of Regents. The purpose of this meeting is to accept public comment on the President's recommended fiscal year 2022 annual operating budget. And before I start, I want to just outline the procedures that we will follow. Today's public forum is an opportunity for the university community and the public to voice their comments on the proposed fiscal year 2022 operating budget. This is not a dialogue, so if you pose specific questions, please do not expect answers or a response today. The board will consider your concerns and suggestions before we consider final passage at a special meeting on June 29th. We have, I believe, six speakers. Do we have a number? We have 6 speakers signed up, and thank you all. Speakers will be called on in the order in which they signed up. Mr. Steves will call on each speaker. When it's your turn, please come to the presenters table, state your full name for the record. And Mr. Steves will also keep time and will alert speakers when they have 1 minute remaining and when they have 30 seconds remaining and when their time has expired. So finally, I want to also remind everyone that the board is accepting written comments, and we would welcome those written comments on the budget at our website. Please visit regents.umn.edu to submit those written comments. So that's the procedure. Mr. Steves, will you please call the first speaker?
Phil Bulman.
I'm very good at that.
Chair Powell, Vice Chair Swigum, members of the board, and President Gabriele. For the Regents who don't know me, I'm Phil Bulman. I'm Professor of Chemistry on the Twin Cities campus and current chair of the Faculty Consultative Committee. I would like to comment on aspects of the budget that I know particularly well. I and many of my colleagues are pleased that the proposed budget includes compensation increase of 1.5% for graduate and undergraduate assistants for faculty and other employees. 1 year ago, Vice President Ken Horstman and I formed a unique team. The two of us spoke in the Faculty Senate to convince senators to vote for a temporary compensation reduction. We had the support of the whole Faculty Consultative Committee, and the faculty accepted that with 87% approval. The faculty voted in favor of the salary reduction because it distributed the pain over employees earning more than $60,000, and it protected those with lower incomes. So please remember that half of the employees of the University of Minnesota earn less than $60,000. Vice Chair Swigum graciously pointed out several times that the university has done more than any other state institution to address the financial crisis resulting from the COVID pandemic. So please remember that the faculty were team players as really at no other institution. I therefore ask you to support the 1.5% increase proposed by President Gabriele. It will not make up for the salary reduction employees saw last year. It does make up for inflation last year, but it fails to make up for the 2 to 3% inflation that we are expecting for this year. However, the proposed 1.5% compensation increase is a step in the right direction. I hope that the financial situation in 1 year will look better, and you will be able to vote on a budget that puts an end to this continuing loss of purchasing power of our university employees. Let me very briefly end with a different topic. As chair of the Faculty Consultative Committee, I'm a member of the Advisory Council of President Gabriele's PEAK initiative, the initiative that is trying to find university-wide improvements in efficiency and capacity. So this initiative has a really very difficult task. It is difficult because there have been many continuous efforts at the university for 20 years that I've been here to improve efficiencies. And I'll give you one example. When I started here in 2000, we had one secretary for 4 faculty members in my department. That was about 10 secretaries in our department. In 2021, we have 1 secretary for the department head and 0 for everybody else. And you will agree, it's pretty hard to cut from 0. So it is difficult to cut there, and we should not have unrealistic expectations from the Peak Initiative. But I'm really, really glad that we're looking very, very deeply in this and that there's a lot of consultation with that process. And so I'm very hopeful that we will have good findings coming out of that and getting us better and more efficient. So I thank the president for actually starting this initiative. That ends my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, Professor Bulman. Appreciate it. All right.
Mas Cave.
Reasonable.
Chair Powell, Vice Chair Swigum, President Gabriele, members of the board. Good morning. I'm Mas Cave. I'm the Dean of the College of Science and Engineering. And this past year, I've had the pleasure of chairing the Twin Cities Dean's Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the President's recommended FY22 annual operating budget. We're obviously emerging from a very difficult year during which the university community showed great commitment to the mission. Staff and faculty demonstrated considerable sacrifices and innovation. With the furloughs and cuts that you've already heard about, and assuming the extra burden of pivoting to remote instruction, and of course, the flexibility and resilience of our students has been absolutely inspiring for all of us. In this context, the recommended budget provides a complement of significant retrenchments and reallocations, modest requests from state, and a small tuition increase to move the university forward towards Impact 2025 goals and aspirations. I cannot sugarcoat the pain of retrenchments. You already heard what Professor Bulman mentioned. For an academic institution that has gone through years after years of retrenchments and reallocations, there really is no fat to cut. A 2.5% reallocation for a college like mine, which is similar to the other colleges, is actually in effect well over 5% because so many costs are tied to faculty positions and cost charges, for example. However, I also appreciate the continued need for shared sacrifices on all fronts and to keep and build on our strengths along critical priorities. In our retrenchment plans, for example, the overarching principle for our college, as it was for other colleges, was to protect the mission and not to shortchange our students, not to shortchange our capabilities as a leading research university for possibilities of moving forward in competitive grants and so on and so forth. So for example, we committed to hold harmless our budget for teaching assistants. And we kept our core facilities, again, harmless because they support the research that we have to continue. A 1.5% modest compensation increase when we're in a highly competitive environment for talent is a step in the right direction, but it is just a start, as you've already heard. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak in support of the budget that has been proposed in front of you, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Cave.
Maggie Kilgo.
Good morning. My name is Maggie Kilgo. I'm the president of AFSCME Local 3937, representing technical workers here at the university, and I'm one of the co-chair of our negotiations committee. Last week, our team of United AFSCME locals came to the bargaining table with the university and started the process of negotiating new contracts. In the last set of contracts between the Board of Regents and our AFSCME locals, we were able to come together and make real strides towards supporting frontline workers. But now more than ever, it is imperative that we continue this forward motion for our unionized staff. During the pandemic, the administration has been unable to ignore the vital roles our members play in the functioning of the university, and they have taken some steps to help mitigate the hardships we've faced. For example, when staff and faculty expressed concerns about the proposed furlough or pay reduction program, the university agreed that many of our workers would be spared. The administration acknowledged that any reduction in pay would disproportionately affect the lowest paid workers. They understood that for those of us at the bottom, losing even one day's wages can disrupt our already tenuous financial security and can take us from barely scraping by to feeling like the bottom is falling out. So we were exempted from the program. And again, throughout the pandemic, our workers have kept the U running. Some of us did this from home, balancing the many demands of our day jobs with the new responsibility of managing the education of our children. And some of us did it in person, risking not only our own health and safety, but that of our families by increasing exposure risks. While the U recognized this risk and gave essential on-campus workers an additional $2 per hour for hazard pay, the extra $80 a week really didn't go that far. Despite these acknowledgements of our vital importance to the university, both in past contract negotiations and during the pandemic, the U hasn't brought that same momentum to the bargaining table this round. In our opening day, the U proposed to us a mere 1% pay increase. As inflation rises at the fastest annual rate in almost 30 years and the cost of living continues to skyrocket, the university proposes to us a 1% raise. Just 1%, even as they plan to increase insurance rates by 4.7%. And insurance plans actually saved money last year. The number of medical, dental, and pharmacy claims were all down over previous years, and the vast majority of COVID-related expenses like testing and vaccines are being billed to the federal government. But insurance rates are still going up, and they offer us only 1%. But our members deserve better. We deserve wages that move us forward, that recognize our work. But that's not all. We deserve standalone bereavement leave, like the opportunity to grieve our loved ones without using sick or vacation time, like the opportunity granted to our civil service and P&A coworkers. We also deserve affordable and comprehensive health insurance and access to culturally competent healthcare. We deserve a safe workplace and flexible work locations and schedules when possible. And we deserve a workplace that values racial and social justice. The Board of Regents has shown they can do better, and now is not the time to go backwards. During this time when we've all been forced to re-examine our priorities, the Regents have a real opportunity to demonstrate an understanding of our members' importance. We simply cannot afford to go backwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kilgo.
Deb Parlika.
My name is Deb Havlicka. I'm the president of AFSCME Healthcare Local 3260. I am also co-chair on the AFSCME negotiating committee. I am a nurse at Boynton Health. I am an essential worker. I never wanted to be an essential worker. I am 61 years old and a widow. I'm not wealthy. I've had no choice but to risk my life. Many employees have been able to work from home. We were told we had to report to work. Boynton Health never closed, not even for a day. All essential workers had to adapt. Everything we knew changed. We put our lives and the lives of our families at risk. The stay-home order didn't apply to essential workers. Since March of 2020, I began to live my life like I was going to die of COVID. Essential worker represents sacrifice, fear, stress, anxiety, depression, insomnia, loneliness, helplessness, feeling so vulnerable. We are not brave. Essential workers have continued to pay to commute to work. I have paid more now during the pandemic to work because my bus was canceled and still is. In August, essential workers will have to pay a great deal more to park at work. Many essential workers have struggled to pay for daycare due to school closings. They have struggled to work and do at-home learning with their kids. Many working from home haven't been on the campus since March 2020 and have not had the same struggles and expenses. They have more vacation and sick time. I burned through vacation just to feel safe at home. Since March of 2020, essential workers have reported for work and received $2 an hour, $16 a day for not quite 3 months. $16 a day for risking our lives. Now, for more than a year, essential workers have been reporting to work and have not been treated equitably for those working at home. The COVID pandemic has profoundly impacted all of us. My fears began to lessen after I was vaccinated. Then Brent Anderson, an employee from the NRRI facility in Coleraine, Minnesota, died April 14th, 2021 from COVID he contracted at work. Brent was a union brother, a university employee, an essential worker doing his job for the University of Minnesota. We need to be safe. We need to feel safe. The majority of union workers are essential employees. Don't we matter? Please keep masks as a requirement. Please require COVID vaccines of students and employees as soon as is possible. Please do the right thing. We call upon the university to acknowledge the sacrifices the essential workers have made for you and continue to make. President Gabriele, Regents, raise the bar. Be the example for many to follow, please. The pandemic is not over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pavlica.
Shireen Horazek.
Good morning. My name is Shireen Horazek. I have worked at the U for 17 years. I am the president of AFSCME 3800 and am a co-chair of our negotiating committee. I live 6 blocks from George Floyd Square. Hundreds of University AFSCME members live in the neighborhoods where George Floyd, Jamar Clark, and Dante Wright were killed by the police and where people rose up in protest. So many of our members and their families live in the neighborhoods that faced bulldozers and devastation when the freeways were put in. So many of our members live in the neighborhoods impacted by racist redlining and historic disenfranchisement. The pandemic exposed even more the racial disparities that exist. Here at the U, unionized workers have nearly double the percentage of Black, Indigenous, and people of color than higher paid employee groups. From our founding, our union has worked tirelessly to lift up our members, to push the university to not ignore and disrespect the lowest paid workers who do the behind the scenes work that makes the university run. We have organized and fought for higher starting wages, salaries that we can thrive on, paid parental leave for all parents, respect and dignity for trans workers, for PPE in a safe workplace or to work from home during the pandemic, and for flexibility for workers struggling to do it all this year, especially those who are also dealing with the effects of systemic racism. When our members make economic progress, it has a tremendous impact on our communities. Lifting yourself up from your bootstraps is an illusion that allows those in power to ignore the systemic disadvantages that generations of Black and brown and working class folks have faced. A. Philip Randolph, founder of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, said, "The essence of trade unionism is social uplift." In our bargaining proposals to the university, we are advocating for a contract that lifts up frontline workers who are among the lowest paid and most diverse workers at the U, but to also lift our communities as we rise. UMN AFSCME presented a comprehensive jobs proposal focused on supporting our communities most impacted by historic disenfranchisement, the lowest income and highest percentage Black neighborhoods in the Twin Cities and first ring suburbs, with similar commitments to disenfranchised neighborhoods and communities near all of our campuses. Our proposal lays out a concrete plan to lift as we rise, including the creation of a jobs pipeline, a plan for recruitment from targeted neighborhoods, the development of an apprentice and training and mentoring program, clear pathways for advancement through classification families with job security, full restoration of the Regents scholarship that doesn't provide tuition support for those who can immediately be accepted into degree programs, and the creation of a tuition remission program for the dependents of the lowest wage workers on campus. In this last year of racial reckoning, we have seen a lot of talk at the U about how to address the appalling racial disparities that exist. Courageous conversations are not enough. We need concrete programs for economic and social advancement. As one of the largest employers in the state, the university has the direct opportunity to become a leader in lifting up Black and brown workers and historically marginalized communities. We call upon you to support U of M AFSCME's bargaining proposals, including the recognition of Juneteenth as an official holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Horazek.
Nicholas Wallenhorst.
Good morning, Chair Powell, President Gable, members of the board. My name is Nicholas Wallenhorst. I'm the MSA representative to the Student Senate Consultative Committee. This Wednesday, we received an email asking for feedback for the FY 2022 budget. And going through that, I found a primary point of concern that I wanted to bring attention to the board. So among my examination of the very long report, I saw that we are seeking to increase student tuition by 1.5%, increase parking prices by 4%, and increase student housing by 5.5%, roughly at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And the point I have is that it is looking like the University of Minnesota is asking that the financial hardships of the COVID-19 pandemic is over, while the reality is that many students are still struggling with the financial impacts that the COVID-19 pandemic has put on them. I know a close friend of mine had lost her job at the beginning of the pandemic, only to find another one and then get laid off that as well. And so by unilaterally increasing prices for student housing, for parking if they want to commute, for tuition, it seems that the university is prioritizing its own financial situation rather than the needs of students, particularly in its financial hardship. So the point I'm trying to make is that the university should be focusing on what students need and the financial impacts they have faced and trying to work with them to bring up the university's needs while also meeting the students' needs. And that's the real point that I wanted to make today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenhorst. Do we have other speakers?
We do not.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to thank all of the speakers today. Thank you very much for your comment. And I thank all of my colleagues on the board for your time and your attention. As a reminder to the university community, once again, we are accepting written feedback on our website, and we will meet on June 29th to consider final passage of the fiscal year 2022 annual operating budget. So before I gavel us to adjournment, let me just tell all my colleagues, we'll now take a 15-minute break. We will reconvene for the Governance and Policy Committee meeting at 8:40 in this room. So we'll see you all in 15 minutes, and we are adjourned.